kindest person in the room sometimes goes cold, not out of malice, but from exhaustion. Today, the pattern that makes empaths snap, and the 72-hour cure. You know that friend who always listens, the one everyone turns to when life gets messy? They nod along, offer advice, carry emotional burdens that aren't even theirs. But what happens when that same person suddenly becomes distant, cold, almost robotic in their responses? It's not random. It's a predictable pattern. And once you understand it, you'll never look at human behavior the same way. I'm about to show you something that Dale Carnegie touched on, but never fully explored: the dark side of being too good at caring. This isn't just about setting boundaries. This is about understanding why the most empathetic people sometimes become the coldest, and more importantly, how to reverse it in exactly 72 hours. Now, Carnegie built his entire philosophy around the art of listening and making others feel important. His approach revolutionized how we think about human connection. But here's what he didn't anticipate. What happens when someone masters these techniques too well? When they become so skilled at absorbing everyone else's problems that they lose themselves in the process. Carnegie taught us to genuinely care about others, to listen without judgment, to make people feel heard and valued. These are beautiful principles, but like any powerful tool, they can become dangerous when taken to extremes. The empath who follows Carnegie's teachings to perfection often creates an invisible prison for themselves, a prison built from their own kindness. Think about it. Carnegie emphasized the importance of remembering people's names, their concerns, their dreams. He showed us how to make others feel like the most important person in the room. But what if you're doing this for 10 people? 20? 50? At what point does genuine care become self-destruction? The empathic person starts with the best intentions. They listen deeply, just like Carnegie suggested. They remember details about your life that even you forget. They celebrate your wins and mourn your losses as if they were their own. This is beautiful human behavior, but it comes with a hidden cost that nobody talks about. Here's the collapse path that almost every empath follows, and once you see it, you'll recognize it everywhere. It starts with hyper-listening, going beyond what Carnegie ever intended. They don't just listen to understand, they listen to absorb. Every conversation becomes an emotional download, where they take on not just your words, but your stress, your anxiety, your unfinished business. This hyper-listening phase feels good to everyone involved. You walk away feeling heard, understood, lighter. The empath walks away feeling useful, needed, important. But they're also walking away heavier than before, carrying pieces of conversations that should have stayed with you. Then comes the responsibility transfer. This is where things get dangerous. The empath doesn't just listen to your problems. They start feeling responsible for solving them. Carnegie taught us to be genuinely interested in others, but the over-empathetic person translates this into feeling personally accountable for everyone else's happiness and success. They start giving advice they're not qualified to give. They offer solutions to problems they've never experienced. They lose sleep thinking about situations that have nothing to do with them. Worst of all, they begin measuring their own worth by how well they can fix other people's lives. During this phase, you'll notice something interesting. The empath becomes incredibly efficient at solving everyone else's problems while their own life slowly falls apart. Their laundry piles up while they're helping someone organize their entire life. Their career stagnates while they're coaching others toward their dreams. Their relationships suffer while they're playing therapist to acquaintances. Next comes micro-resentment, and this is where the real damage begins. It starts small, tiny moments of frustration when someone doesn't take their advice, or when the same person brings the same problem for the 5th time. These micro-resentments accumulate like interest on debt. Each unexpressed frustration compounds until something inside them fundamentally shifts. The empath realizes they've become everyone's emotional dumping ground, but they feel trapped. They can't express their resentment because that would make them seem selfish. They can't stop listening because that's their identity now. They can't ask for help because they're supposed to be the one helping others. They're stuck in a role they never consciously chose. Finally comes the coldness phase, and this is what shocks everyone who knows them. The warm, caring, always available person suddenly becomes distant. They stop initiating conversations. Their responses become short, almost clinical. They seem to have built an invisible wall around themselves overnight. But this isn't cruelty, it's survival. The empath's nervous system has finally said enough. They've reached a breaking point where continuing to operate in their usual mode feels literally impossible. So they shut down emotionally to protect whatever's left of themselves. People notice this shift immediately and often take it personally. They wonder what they did wrong. They feel confused, rejected, sometimes even angry. What they don't understand is that this coldness isn't directed at them specifically. It's directed at the entire dynamic of emotional caretaking that has become unsustainable. Now, there are 3 warning signs that an empath is about to make this shift, and if you know what to look for, you can see it coming from miles away. The first sign is cancelling without their usual elaborate explanations. Normally, when empaths cancel plans, they provide detailed justifications, apologize profusely, and often reschedule immediately. But when they're approaching the breaking point, they simply say they can't make it. No drama, no lengthy explanations, just a simple no. This shift in cancellation style represents something deeper. They're conserving emotional energy by not engaging in the typical dance of over-explanation and guilt that usually accompanies their boundary-setting attempts. When an empath starts cancelling plans without emotional labour, pay attention. They're running on empty. The second warning sign is sudden sarcasm or dry humour appearing in someone who's typically earnest and sincere. Empaths usually communicate with careful consideration for others' feelings. They choose their words to minimise harm and maximise understanding. But when they're overwhelmed, you'll start hearing sharp, witty comments that feel slightly out of character. This sarcasm is often their first attempt at creating emotional distance. It's a way of expressing frustration without direct confrontation. When someone who's usually gentle and considerate starts using humour as a weapon, even mildly, it's a sign that their internal pressure is building toward a breaking point. The third and most telling sign is punitive silence. This isn't the comfortable quiet of someone who's naturally introverted. This is deliberate withdrawal as a form of self-protection. They stop asking follow-up questions. They don't fill awkward pauses. They respond to emotional bids with minimal acknowledgement. This silence feels punitive to others because it's such a stark contrast to their usual engaged presence. But from the empath's perspective, it's not punishment, it's preservation. They've learned that engaging fully leads to emotional overwhelm, so they're trying to engage partially. Unfortunately, this halfway approach often feels worse to everyone involved than complete honesty would. Here's the thing about these warning signs. They're not character flaws or manipulation tactics. They're natural responses to an unsustainable situation. The empath hasn't learned how to set boundaries gracefully, so their system creates boundaries automatically through withdrawal. It's clumsy, but it's functional. Now let me share the 72-hour reset protocol that can interrupt this cycle and restore healthy emotional functioning. This isn't about becoming less caring or less empathetic. It's about becoming more skillful with your empathy so you can sustain it long-term without burning out. Day 1 of the reset is about time without apologizing. Here's what this looks like practically. You're going to block out 2 45-minute periods during your day where you do exactly what you want without explaining or justifying your choices to anyone, including yourself. Choose activities that require no external validation. Maybe it's reading a book, taking a walk, organizing your space, or just sitting quietly. The key is that during these 90 minutes total, you practice existing without needing to justify your existence to anyone else. This might sound simple, but for an over-empathetic person, it's revolutionary. They're so used to considering everyone else's needs first that spending focused time on themselves feels almost selfish. That feeling is exactly why this exercise is necessary. You're retraining your nervous system to remember that your needs matter independently of how they impact others. During these blocks of time, you'll notice your mind trying to pull you back into caretaking mode. You might think about someone who needs your help or feel guilty for not being available. Just notice these thoughts without acting on them. This is your brain learning a new pattern. Day 2 introduces boundary setting with bridge phrases. Instead of saying yes to everything or no to everything, you're going to practice setting limits while maintaining connection. The bridge phrase structure works like this: acknowledgement, boundary, alternative offer. For example, instead of just saying, "I can't help you with that," you say, "I understand this is really important to you, and I can't take this on today. Could we talk about it briefly on Thursday instead?" The acknowledgement maintains the relationship, the boundary protects your energy, and the alternative offer shows you still care. Practice this structure with low-stakes situations first. Maybe someone asks for a favor, or wants to discuss their relationship problems, or needs help with a project. Use the same three-part structure. Acknowledge their need, set your boundary, offer a reasonable alternative. This day is about learning that boundaries don't have to be walls. They can be bridges that maintain connection while protecting your resources. Most empaths avoid boundaries because they think boundaries mean rejection. But skillful boundaries actually strengthen relationships by ensuring your help comes from abundance rather than depletion. Day 3 focuses on selective reintroduction, and this is where you practice choosing your emotional investments intentionally. Pick 3 people who consistently add value to your life. These are your anchor relationships. With these 3 people, you can return to fuller empathic engagement, but only with these 3. For everyone else, maintain the boundary structures you practiced on day 2. This doesn't mean you care less about other people. It means you're being strategic about where you invest your emotional energy, so you can show up more powerfully for the people who matter most. This selective approach might feel uncomfortable at first, because empaths are used to treating all relationships with equal intensity. But equal intensity is actually unfair to your closest relationships. Your best friend deserves more emotional investment than your co-worker's cousin, who likes to complain about their dating life. Choose your 3 anchor people based on reciprocity, respect, and genuine care for your well-being. These should be people who support your growth, celebrate your successes, and check in on you without being asked. They should be relationships that energize rather than drain you. Now let's talk about specific boundary phrases that can transform how you navigate daily interactions. These aren't scripts to memorize. They're frameworks you can adapt to your natural speaking style. The goal is to communicate clearly and kindly while protecting your energy. "I can't take this on today" is perfect when someone asks for help that would stretch you beyond your current capacity. It's honest, immediate, and doesn't require elaborate justification. You can add context if you want, but you don't have to. Sometimes the complete sentence is just, "I can't take this on today." "Let's put this in writing" works brilliantly when someone wants you to commit to something complex or emotionally charged. It buys you time to think, creates accountability for both parties, and prevents misunderstandings. It also filters out requests that aren't serious. People won't bother writing down casual impositions. "I have 10 minutes now" sets a clear time boundary while still offering support. It prevents conversations from expanding to fill whatever time you have available. You can adjust the time frame based on your actual availability, but always set a specific limit. This phrase respects both your schedule and their need for connection. These phrases work because they're honest, specific, and kind. They don't attack the other person or make them wrong for asking. They simply state your reality clearly. Most people will respect clear boundaries more than they respect martyrdom. The key to using these phrases effectively is to say them without guilt or extensive explanation. The more you justify your boundaries, the weaker they become. State your reality clearly and kindly, then stop talking. Let the other person respond to your actual boundary rather than to your anxious explanation of why you need one. Practice these phrases in low-pressure situations first. Use them with service providers, casual acquaintances, or in professional settings where the emotional stakes are lower. As you get comfortable with the structure, you can start using them in more personal relationships. Understanding your social battery from 0 to 100 is crucial for maintaining healthy empathic functioning long-term. Think of social energy like your phone battery. It depletes with use and needs intentional recharging. Most people have an intuitive sense of this, but empaths often ignore their battery level until it's completely dead. Start tracking your energy levels at 3 points each day: morning, afternoon, and evening. Use a simple scale from 0 to 100. 0 means you feel completely drained and need immediate solitude. 100 means you feel energized and ready for complex social interactions. Most numbers will fall somewhere in between. Notice what activities charge your battery and what activities drain it. This isn't just about being around people versus being alone. It's more nuanced than that. You might find that deep conversations with certain people are actually energizing, while small talk with others is exhausting. Some empaths find that helping people with practical problems is energizing, while emotional support feels draining. Keep an energy journal for 7 days, noting your battery level and what influenced it. Pay attention to the people, activities, environments, and even times of day that consistently impact your energy in predictable ways. This information becomes invaluable for making smart choices about how you spend your time. After tracking for a week, you'll start to see patterns. Maybe your energy crashes every Tuesday, because that's when you have lunch with someone who complains constantly. Maybe you feel most charged after creative activities or physical exercise. Maybe certain environments consistently drain you while others restore you. Use this information to design your schedule more intentionally. If you know that large groups drain you, don't schedule group activities on days when you need to be sharp for other commitments. If you know that creative work energizes you, block time for creativity when your battery is running low. The goal isn't to avoid everything that drains energy. That's impossible and would make for a very limited life. The goal is to balance energy expenditure with energy restoration so you can engage fully without burning out. Most empaths spend so much time managing other people's energy that they never learn to manage their own. This tracking system teaches you to treat your emotional energy as a valuable resource that deserves careful stewardship. When you know your patterns, you can make choices from awareness rather than habit. Remember that your energy patterns are unique to you. Don't compare your battery levels to other people's or judge yourself for having different energy needs. Some people recharge through social interaction, while others recharge through solitude. Some people have steady energy throughout the day, while others have dramatic peaks and valleys. All patterns are valid. The key insight from energy tracking is learning the difference between activities that are temporarily tiring but ultimately energizing, and activities that are genuinely draining. Physical exercise might make you tired, but it often increases your overall energy capacity. Helping a friend through a crisis might be emotionally intense, but it can leave you feeling fulfilled rather than depleted. Conversely, some activities might seem easy in the moment, but leave you feeling mysteriously drained afterwards. These are often situations where you're managing other people's emotions, walking on eggshells, or suppressing your authentic responses. Learning to identify these subtle energy drains can dramatically improve your overall well-being. Here's what we've covered. Empaths follow a predictable path from hyper-listening to emotional coldness when they exceed their sustainable caring capacity. This isn't weakness, it's a natural protective response. The 72-hour reset protocol interrupts this cycle by rebuilding your relationship with your own needs and limits. Day 1 teaches you to exist without constant justification. Day 2 introduces boundary setting with connection. Day 3 helps you choose your emotional investment strategically. Combined with energy tracking and clear communication phrases, this creates a sustainable approach to empathic engagement. But there's one more thing I need to tell you about empathic burnout, and it's the most dangerous sign of all. It's not the obvious signs we covered earlier. It's not the cancelling or the sarcasm or the withdrawal. It's when an empath becomes genuinely happy about other people's failures or misfortunes. This isn't the kind of dark humor that everyone occasionally engages in. This is a deep, secret satisfaction when someone who's previously demanded their emotional labor experiences problems. When the empath finds themselves thinking, "Good, now they know how it feels," or "Finally, they're getting what they deserve." That's the point of no return. This vengeful satisfaction is so contrary to the empath's self-image that they usually hide it even from themselves. But it's the clearest indicator that the caring system has broken down completely. When empathy turns to subtle cruelty, the person needs professional support, not just boundary-setting techniques. If you recognize this pattern in yourself, please understand that it doesn't make you a bad person. It makes you a good person who's been stretched beyond their breaking point. The solution isn't to feel guilty about these thoughts. It's to get the support you need to rebuild your caring capacity from a healthier foundation. The beautiful thing about empathy is that it's renewable, but only when it's practiced skillfully. You can return to being the caring person you've always been, but with better boundaries, clearer communication, and more intentional energy management. The goal isn't to care less, it's to care more effectively. Write 72H reset in the comments, and I'll send you the complete templates for implementing this protocol over your weekend. These templates include specific scripts, energy tracking sheets, and troubleshooting guides for the most common challenges empaths face when learning to set boundaries. Remember, the kindest people sometimes need to go cold to remember how to stay warm, but with the right tools, that coldness can become the foundation for more sustainable warmth that serves both you and the people you care about.